Okay, so I've just pressed record on there. So welcome you two to the Aspiring Managers Module 4. Yay! I always just put this at the front so we know where we're up to. So we're officially halfway, and I just wanted to take the opportunity, and for the people who watch the recording as well, to say just how amazing I think you all are with your recruiting. And I can just see from day one till today the amazing things people are doing, the amount of people that you guys are contacting. And I think that that's a really true reflection of, when you're feeling really motivated and you've got something like this happening to keep you on track and to get you on track, it's just incredible what we can achieve. And I'm just so proud of everyone, because it's so clear that, everyone's sponsoring, and there are some people who are really close to promoting already. So I think, yay, it's so exciting. That should make you excited too, Joe, because that's, I think this is just fantastic at the moment, and there's a really good buzz going on, which is great. And hopefully we'll see it continue to grow as well. So what we're going to be talking about tonight is the crunch. So this is actually when it comes down to, we've got the mindset, we've talked about what we need to be doing in order to sponsor, but this is actually right down to the nitty-gritty end of actually the how-to. So we'll go through it. I just popped this up, how are you tracking, to see where you might be sitting. And even though we're in our first month, I know some of the people have actually already got their two consultants, which means your business is growing, which is really great. So we'll hopefully keep seeing more and more people joining these teams, which is great. So I wanted to talk about your captive audience today, which is really about the parties. And sometimes when we really start to sponsor and we really start to sort of in that initial first bit of when we start to get lots of people in our team, we tend to sort of let our parties go a little bit. I found that the case to be with myself. So I wanted to have a talk about that, to really talk about how important these parties are and about how important it is to keep generating them, especially at this time of year. Because as we know that once we start getting into December and early January, people start to become full of excuses as to why they can't host parties. So this is a really critical time to be focusing on your parties, giving yourself a date where you will book up until, and then perhaps allowing you to have that time off, over Christmas yourself. But the key is really to make sure that you have your January bookings booked in before you go on that break. It's very, very crucial to have it all done before, because you want to start January and then fresh new year, new goals. You want to start with a big bang straight away, rather than sort of having to find new people to have parties and that sort of thing. And I know that if your foot's on the accelerator just that little bit over Christmas, it gives you a really strong start for January. And I talk to quite a few people who say, oh, January is the worst month for parties, but I can guarantee it's not. My best ever month with Ash was actually in January. And I think it was about 10,500 in reward sales on that month. I think I did about 16 parties. So it's something that, but I did that all before we went to Christmas. So they were all ready to go. So I wanted to talk today about having the parties. And this is something now in terms of the time of year where you'll be finishing up, but something that you can really focus on in January as well, when you've got lots of your parties. So it's about having your radar on. When you have a room full of people, basically you want to try and get as many people there as you can. I think you can have too many at a party sometimes in terms of what you're trying to do. But, trying to support the hostess to ensure that that room is full of lots of different types of people are the most important thing. So there's one thing having 20 people, but if you could have 10 people and they can all be very different to one another in terms of their family life and their work life and all of those sorts of things, you get a really nice spread of people. So this is about, when you're talking to your hostess, about making sure that you're suggesting people for her to invite, so that when you go into these parties with your recruitment radar on, you actually have a really nice spread of people ready to approach, and different things that you're ready to hear in terms of when they're telling you about their pain points and things like that. So I just popped some things down there that you might be able to say. Have you invited so-and-so? So it might be, have you invited your next door neighbours? Have you invited the girls from work? Have you invited the people from your tennis team? They'd really, they'd love to come along. So that you're actually suggesting to people that they can invite. Sometimes we think it's very straightforward for people to actually invite people to their parties, but they discount a lot of people straight up. So it's really good to sort of give them that incentive to go away and find those extra people. You can incentivize her by saying, if you find 2 more guests, I'll give you, and you might be able to reward her for having an extra couple of people at her party that she didn't think might have been able to make it. Offer for her guests to receive something for free if they bring a friend. This is a really great way to tap into the people that sort of those really, really fresh leads. So sometimes at your parties, you'll probably find that you sort of start to see the same faces for about 3 parties in a row, and then they'll go again. But if at those next 2 parties, they each can bring someone new, there's a fresh person, a fresh lead for you to talk to, which is really great. There's also lots of tic-tac-toes available. I dare say that there's one on Hash Central. If not, you can Google them. There's plenty out there so that you can actually incentivize your hostess to get a nice variety of people to your parties. Now, one thing that we'll talk about, this is part of the coursework today, is to take a business opportunity pack and display them creatively. So you can use things for business opportunity packs like little gift bags or anything that you want to put them in. And inside you should have a brochure and a recruitment flyer all about Hash, and maybe a flyer about the kits or something like that, or the free shopping points, anything that you want in there, including a little free gift. So sometimes it's really nice to pop in something a little bit nicer, like maybe you can get a nice soy candle in a glass canister with a lid. You can usually get them fairly cheap from the discount shops. And actually have them there ready for people who, when you've got your recruitment radar on, actually look like they're going to be a potential recruit. So you can be giving them the information and rewarding them with a gift straight up at the beginning. So you can display them as creatively as you like. I've seen this done so many different ways. Some people just put, they do gift bags and they get those little bullet stars from Officeworks and they just put $400 on the front. And what they're trying to get people to see is that by doing this, you can earn this income, which is fantastic. I myself tried it a few different ways. I had gift boxes rather than bags, which looks really nice, and stacked them up really nicely on the side of my presentation. I've also put together little bags, and next to it I've had a pair of sunglasses and a Hawaiian lei, and I had some fake money and car keys and things like that to show people what your dreams could, achieve, what you can achieve when you actually put your mind to it and do something like this where you can work towards a big dream of yours. And that was often really effective because people would be like, well, that's not part of her presentation. I don't know what that is. And then they wanted to know more about why that was there like that. So having a think about whether or not you can display something really creatively to get people's attention, because everyone loves free stuff and everyone loves things to look beautiful. So we'll talk more about business opportunity packs at the end, but there's something that you must have with you at every single party, because if someone shows interest, you don't want them to walk out the door until they have the information that they need and a business booking opportunity diary with you. You need to be booked in to speak to you. And often they need to go away. Some people really like to thoroughly look through that kind of thing before they come back to you. Others, might not even want it at all. Some people just want to sign up on the spot. We love those people. But it's really great for people to be able to go away and read about what the opportunity is before they come back, so that they can have their questions answered. And the other thing is to play at least one sponsoring game, and at the end I'll share with you my favourite one that you'll be able to put into place straight away. So sponsoring games are really great for capturing, first of all, identifying who the potential hot leads are at your party, and then from there actually being able to approach them about the opportunity. So while you have your captive audience in front of you, you don't have to do these really obviously, but at certain times throughout your presentation, you want to make some big statements about the company and what that and about your business. And what that does is it sort of casts a net over everybody, and you can pull that back in. And what you're doing is fishing for who's showing a great deal of interest in the things that I'm saying. Now, you don't have to make it really, really obvious about what you're doing. But when you're talking, it might be to a part of the group. You can make statements like, oh, they go, wow, you're really good at this. And you go, oh, I never thought I could do this. But, the training's just been fantastic. That's all you might need to say at that point for them to go, oh, okay, so she's got great support to actually come and, to get her business started, which is great. You can put in other things like, oh, you should have seen what I got sent for free last week. So, if the company has incentivized you in some way or rewarded you in some way, you can talk about that as well. I'll never forget getting my Tiffany's bracelet from Hash. That was the biggest thing right at It was just one of, I've still got, it's in my safe. Like, that's how much I love it. I do wear my Georgini Joe regularly because I thought, you know what, I'm going to get that out and I'm going to wear it. But the Tiffany's is in the safe. So I would wear that to my parties and people would actually go, oh, Tiffany's. I go, yeah, well, actually the company rewarded me. And I got this for free through cash. And they go, wow. And it's like, okay, that's a big ticket item. So have some things on display at your parties or wear what you've been given to your parties so that you can actually share your success with people. And everyone loves to be incentivized. Everyone loves to be rewarded for their hard work. So that's another way to net for that kind of information. Don't be afraid to talk about money as well. You know what? If someone goes, oh, this looks like a really fun job, and you're at the end and you're packing up, you go, yeah, actually, do you know what? If you think they're the kind of person, of course, that wants to talk money, you can say, I made $150 tonight. That is huge for some people. They'll be like, wow. And all you did was come and have a glass of wine and shot some products and have a great time. You go, well, yeah. So that's a really great way to get people's attention is by talking about money. You can't make promises, though. You can't say, oh, I can help you make $600 a month minimum. You can't make promises like that because some people, sadly, will not really read between the lines there and they take things very literally. So talk about what their potential is and what the capacity is, but not so much making the promises. You also want to close your party with a booking and sponsoring opportunity. So always making sure you're coming back to sponsoring, and if they're not going to be interested in the opportunity, of course, booking a party with you, then you've got another chance, another opportunity to do that. And the other thing is when you're doing your one-on-one ordering time at the end, and I always like to do that privately or just to the side of where everyone is, you have to make sure that you are talking with each guest about the opportunity again. And again, it can be done very subtly, through her pain and pleasure points as well as, quite obviously as well, would you like to join my team? So depending on what kind of person it is. There are just so many opportunities when you have this group of people sitting in front of you to really net for sponsoring, to really give it a good go to see how many leads you can get. So in the follow-up, once you've finished the party and you've processed the orders and you've done all of those things, back in the Star Performers, we did talk about the importance of those follow-up customer service calls. And, I've got the 3 here. We'll talk about, obviously you're ringing to inquire to make sure that they've received their products, that everything was okay with their order. And just to recap that in case there's anyone that will watch the replay that wasn't in the Star Performers, is that's really important because if there happens to be a problem with an order, it's so important that that person feels like they're being looked after, that customer service level is really high. You don't want to get 3 weeks further down the track and there's a problem that you didn't know about, and then, obviously they might be upset. So firstly, the customer service call is so important because it establishes that relationship and you're helping them, to solve whatever issue they have. So it's great. It's an opportunity for you to talk about the products and the orders, like, oh, have you had a chance to try the lotion, or have you had a read of that book, or how did you find the lingerie? Was it comfortable? So you can actually get some really high quality feedback at that point about the products that you can then pass on to your, ongoing customers at parties and things like that. It's really valuable to ask some really specific questions. But secondly, and if you've been very clever and made notes so that when you go back to ring these people, it's very easy, you want to reinforce their pain and pleasure buttons. So, giving the gift of the business opportunity and let her know, look, you know what, I'm actually free next Tuesday or Thursday morning, if one of those would suit you. Make sure that you are referring to the opportunity in this phone call with everybody because you should have already had that conversation at the party. And/or I should say, maybe she is interested in knowing more about the opportunity, maybe she's not. Always offer free shopping for her. It's like, I'd really love to give you some products for free. Would you like to host your own party? Or how about you get a few girls together and I'll make sure you get some really great free products. So if she's semi-interested in the opportunity, this is the other thing you can do is you can hopefully follow up with her again at another party, or you can say, well, why don't you host your own party as a consultant and you can earn all of the money from the party. This one was really effective, I found, because it killed 2 birds with 1 stone. When someone was interested, we would book a party date for them as their launch party. They would obviously make the money from that party, which is fantastic. But it also gave me an opportunity to use it as her training party, which was really great as well. And it's, if ever possible, to go with your consultant for their first party or within their first 3 parties to do, have that support with them. It's really valuable. because it really helps to consolidate all of the things that you want them to be doing right from the beginning and get into really good practices and habits right from the start with their parties. So training parties / their first launch party is a really great idea there as well. Sponsoring at your party. So this is, it jumps around a little bit. I couldn't work out which order to put all this in, but you get the point. So basically, as we've just talked about, every party provides the opportunity to showcase the benefits of them running their own passion business. So I've just jotted down, I won't read them all, things that you can tell them. Obviously your personal story, which we worked on right at the beginning, and all of these things you can be sharing with them to try and create some interest in the opportunity. And making sure you've got sponsoring seeds. So these are things, this is a bit of an overview of what we just talked about. So, you know, the fun that you're having, the rewards that you've had, what you've bought with your income, that's hugely powerful, because if you can say, do you know what, I bought my first pair of Manolo Blahniks or whatever it's going to be, or I did buy my Tiffany's bracelet or whatever it is with your income, people find that really powerful because they think, well, I could never afford to go and buy that myself, but if I did something like this and I had the extra money coming in, that's a really great way to justify being able to spend a little bit of money on yourself and you know, treat yourself, which is really nice. Now these ones are just some, I might take a screenshot of this actually and post it up in the group. These are just some ideas for how you might start a conversation with somebody based on their pain or pleasure points. And I mean, everyone's different and it'll roll off your tongue differently every single time. But these are some great ways, I'll just let you have a read there, of initiating that conversation. So I'll pop that up in the group so you guys can have a bit of a better look there. I really particularly like that last one. If you know that someone is from a town nearby but not in there, let them know that you're expanding your business into their area and you're looking for somebody. That's also really powerful. People like to be first sometimes too. So objections and hot buttons. During every conversation with your prospect, you want to be able to hit their hot buttons. We've talked about this till we're blue in the face. And find their pain button first. So what is it that's actually concerning them? What's their problem that they need solved? Credit card debt, no time with family, no real job prospects, etc. But the other thing you need to do is hit their pleasure button. And this isn't something that we've talked too much about, but what their goal is. So they're going to have a problem. Everyone's got some problem, sadly. But you know, you want to identify what that is and then work out what their goal is. Now, this is really critical, that if you can't find a pleasure button for someone, they're not the right person to be joining your business. We want people who are really positive about looking to change the situation that they're in. So if you've got somebody, for example, who just has said, look, I don't get any time out of the house. This is so great today to be away from the kids and just have some time for myself. If she feels like she's just never going to have that again, and this is probably the only time it's ever going to happen, and she's really down about it, and you can tell that there's just no way for her to make a goal about it, about making it better for herself, maybe she's not the right person. If she goes, I'd love to, you know, be able to get out more and do this and do that, and if she's talking really positively about it, that's a pleasure button. So yeah, it's about finding that balance, and it's a really great way to cut some people out of the equation if you feel they're too negative about it. So you have to read that one yourself. But this is how to word it. So this is about hitting the pleasure button and the pain button at the same time. I'm going to read this one. So instead of saying, I can show you how to make $5,000 in the next few months, are you interested in speaking with me? You might be able to word it and say, if I could show you how to pay for your family holiday while spending more time with your kids, which is what they want, their pleasure button, and help you get out of debt, which is what their pain problem is, in the next 6 months, would that be worth 20 minutes of your time? It's a really great way to pose the whole scenario to them. You're identifying what they want as their goal. You're telling them you can help them to achieve it. And you're also hitting their pain button to say, I can help you solve this problem. You're not making any guarantees. And then you're obviously at the end, that's a great way to offer them a business opportunity appointment. Would that be worth 20 minutes of your time? So that's a really great way to open it up. Who would say no to that? If that actually was mine, I'd be like, well, yeah, of course it's worth 20 minutes of my time if you can solve this problem for me. So that's a really powerful way to get into the habit of wording your pain and your pleasure buttons, which is fantastic, and that gets people's attention. So for this week at your parties, or whenever your next parties are, I want you to display 3 business opportunity packs, and I want you to strive to give out 2 of them at every party. So have a think about what you might put in. What flyers do Pash have available that you can put in? Make sure that there's a catalogue. Make sure that there's a free gift in there. It does not have to be necessarily a Pash gift. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But something lovely to reward them for taking the time to look at the opportunity with you. You could put some Monopoly money in there just to, make it a little bit more appealing. I want you to play a sponsoring or recruitment game, and I'm about to tell you what mine is, which is my favourite. And I want you to use the pain and pleasure points to guide your conversation. And of course, we want you to be booking people in for opportunity meetings. So displaying the bags, and I want you to post a picture up of your little bags at your party so that we can see them and share our ideas, which would be really wonderful. But I want to just quickly talk to you about the sponsoring game. It is actually something that covers bookings as well. And it's really simple, and you may have heard of it. I would just use Monopoly money, and I would just use the 50s and the 100s, maybe the 20s, depending on what it is. And I would give that money out throughout the course of the evening. And it could be for little things at the beginning, like if you're wearing pink, because, pink is fashion. And, they might get $20, or if they're wearing black knickers, or, when you get to the lingerie, if they've got a lacy bra, you might give out more money to them. As you go on, you can give money for people who are interested in having free products, which of course gives you the opportunity to look for people who are potential party bookers, and so on and so forth. But the crucial thing at the end, which they can use their money to buy free gifts from you at the end, so you have some little auction prizes. The crucial thing at the end is to keep those $500 Monopoly notes. You let them count the money before you do the auction or before you sell to the person with the highest money. You get them to count, and then they'll work out very quickly whether they've got a lot or a little, and you give them an opportunity to earn some extra cash right at the end, right before you sell your auction prizes or your gifts or whatever it is that you want to do. And you give out $500 in Monopoly money for each question that somebody asks you about what you do. And this is really good because people get really competitive about having the most amount of money, so they will start shouting questions at you. And I once had this go on for 20 minutes. It was really, really interesting because more people would listen to what I had to say and then they'd ask another question to find out more about it. So they might start asking you questions like, how long have you been doing this? Very simple, they get $500. What made you start? Why did you start? Why did you choose this? There's another $500. What a great opportunity to tell people what your why is. They might say, how much money do you earn? And you say, well, on average, I make around about this. How much have you made tonight? So you can tell them again. What have you got for free from the company? Or how many people do you have working in your team? People will start asking lots of questions. They can even start asking you questions about your personal life. Do you have kids? Do you do this? Do you have kids? Or do you have a husband? Like, what's your deal? Do you work full-time, part-time? Is this your only job? And it really gives you an opportunity to talk about your situation and how wonderful the business opportunity is for you. And of course, they're all collecting their $500 notes at that point. But what it's done is it's given you an opportunity to share information about your business opportunity and about your story without it seeming to be very forced upon them, which is, we don't want that. We don't want to just dump information on them and run. So it's a really great way to get them to do the hard work and get them to all ask you the questions rather than you having to give it out all the time. And of course, at the end, you have your auction, or you go, who's got the most money? You get the biggest gift and you get the next one, and so on and so forth. And you're good to go. You've actually then got an idea of, okay, who was asking which questions? Who was asking about how much I make? I need to be talking to them about money when I do my one-on-one conversation with them. Oh, she asked about my family situation. So obviously her pain point, something to do with her family, or an objection that she might have might be to do with her family. So you know what you're going to talk to her specifically about when you do your one-on-one ordering with her as well. So it sort of opens you up to identify who needs to be who's interested in what. Obviously, the one thing that I will say is the person that asks you nothing can be the person with the golden ticket. Sometimes they just want to sit back and they're not competitive, but they just want to hear what you have to say. So sometimes if someone hasn't asked you anything, they can be the person that you need to make sure that you're going to have that conversation. So at that, I'll just also say if you want to do that game, you can buy Monopoly Money just in a pack on its own for $10 at the toy shop. So you can go ahead, chuck those $1 bills out and the 10s. Don't worry about those. Just get your big girl notes, get your 20s, your 50s, your 100s, and your 500s. So that's where I'll leave it tonight. Jo, did you want to add anything to that?
No, that's great. I know when I was talking to Morgan earlier today, one thing that we were speaking about was the just about managing teams. I know that's not what we're talking about tonight, but I just wondered where in the course are we going to touch on the managing?
Well, I can swap it around if you want to do it sooner rather than later. I did have it in module 7, but we can swap 6 and 7. Because next week we're going to talk about actually pulling your team together and creating that team, pulling it all together and the things we should be doing when we're establishing our team. But we can switch it around a bit if you wish.
Well, I think the main thing is, I think now that the girls are getting some team members.
Yes.
I think what's really important is that they are creating the ground rules. Even if they've got one person in their team, they're really starting to understand how to create that team dynamic, but also just create those ground rules so that they're training their team members, right from the start, how to behave as an effective team member and not, all those things about calling all the time and, building that structure into your team and setting the parameters around, how it should work and what they, when they should be calling and that sort of stuff. Because I think the best time to do it is when there's only a couple of people in one or two people in your team.
Absolutely, and getting the practices in place straight from the beginning. So I might just go back and modify some of next week's to include some of that, and then I might swap 6 and 7 around, and then we can really go into it in 6. We'll have coaching your team in at 6. So if that works for you, Jo, I'll just modify next week to include a bit
good.
more. Yeah, fantastic. I can certainly do that.
Cool.
I did it when I started to do all this course. I was like, I don't know at what point people will have team members. Didn't know if it was going to be sooner or later.
Yep, sooner rather than later. So that's good, which is good. But I think we need to. That's probably an important part. So it sounds good.
Lovely. Well, thanks, girls.
All right. Safe travels back, Morgan.
Thank you, Will. Thanks, Tash.
Thanks, Morgan. Thanks for coming, and I'll pop this up so that I can send the link to the other girls.
Great.
Okay. Bye. See you.